Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of VIPs in Action. I am your host, Dr. Joanne Michelle Martin of JMM Health Solutions, and I am collaborating with Rose Breastfeeding here in Atlanta for this VIP program where we're looking at birth professionals who are curating their village, who are curating innovative perinatal support systems within their communities to help, moms and families within their communities to grow and thrive. So with me today, I have another special guest. I mean, I've said that about all of them. They've all been really amazing, but I have with me Rose Hurd of With Love Doula. Now, Rose is a mom. She's a grandma. She's trying to convince me that she's a great grandma, but I don't believe her. And she has been operating in this birth support space for at least 4 years. So she's not a novice, y'all. She is a pro. She's been around the block a time or two. She knows, all about this community. So without further ado, here is Rose. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well this morning, staying warm. How are you?
I am well. Where are you located?
I am in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Wow. So you
Green
guys
country.
guys are getting it this morning. So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit more about you. You're the owner of With Love Doula. How did that start? What was the impetus for you kind of creating that business?
I think it all started, with all of my life experiences from being a young single mother myself at one time, from also hearing these stories that my mother told me about her grandmother, who was a granny midwife at that time, and an herbalist. And I've always been intrigued by birth. And so when I found out that I was expecting, it just heightened my curiosity into birth and how the woman's body works. And after that, I had a sister that had a baby, so I cared for her when she had her child. And eventually, my love for my community opened my eyes to the young single mothers that I would see right where in the community where I lived, in the housing community. And I looked at them and said, was that me? Is that what I look like? And I began to work with a lady that is now departed. And we started a group called Teen Moms Incorporated. And from that, I was teaching the mothers that there are other ways other than what they got from their peers, the information they would get from their peers about how to go about raising their baby. I heard, oh, you just get a check and get an apartment, get out your mom's house. And I was showing these mothers there's a different way of doing things. You can continue your education and use your baby as your inspiration to reach higher goals, go into different circles other than the ones that you are in. And so that's what we would do. And in that circle, we would have mothers that were expecting. And I found myself taking these mothers to the hospital and just being with them while they were in labor and caring for them after. And then as time went on, I became a grandmother, so it continued on. And I also worked with friends and family. Somehow I ended up being, I call myself at that time a birth assistant. But what I learned out of it, all of these experiences, was that everything that I was teaching these young ladies, I needed to tell myself. So I was telling them to continue their education. And I decided to practice what I was preaching and continue my education and got my degree. My children didn't even know that I did not have my high school diploma. So I got my GED. I began working and I got a degree in human development and family sciences. And I thought that was going to be the end of the road, but I found that after that was not. And I found myself in a place where I was asking, what is it that I'm supposed to do? And my mother had always said, you're a mom helping moms. And so one day I just saw in 2016 a doula program. I saw one before, and in the 90s I said, doula, what is that? And I saw a doula program, and my family circled around me and they doulaed me into this doula program to have accessible doulas of color in the community. From then, I reached out and became a childbirth educator. And then later on, I took more classes to become a postpartum care provider. And then while all this was going on and I'm learning all of these different models of care, I became a WIC breastfeeding peer counselor. And with WIC, I have my breastfeeding educator course. So I'm now a breastfeeding educator. And soon I will be a certified lactation counselor. So I think that my whole life experience and everything that I learned, it was leading up to me becoming the birth worker that I am today.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing stuff. It's so interesting because most people that get into this profession, most people that get into birth work, into this world, they do have a story. You know, if there's something that kind of created the passion and the love that they feel that has brought them to where they are.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, you know, we're going through this COVID pandemic. Tell us a little bit about how that has impacted you as a doula. How has that impacted, you know, the services that you've been able to provide or how you've been able to interact with your clients?
Okay. So with COVID coming, it taught me, I'm not going to take it as, there's some good that can come out of the bad. So it taught me to be a little bit more flexible. When we were told that we can no longer, doulas could not attend the births, there was only one person can attend the birth. Most birthing people wanted their partners or a family member there. So for me, I learned to really focus on the birth partner. I mean, at first, I've always said that if the father is there, then they hold the charge in the birthing room. But at this time, I really focus and encircle the birthing person's partner, teaching them more, really getting in depth in pain management and how to support the mother and how to advocate for the mother, because especially if it's a father or a husband, they're going to be the advocates for the family. And we have to learn how to take charge of our health and advocate anyways. So a lot of my focus went there. I started doing more virtual meetings. I used to meet in person. I began to do more virtual meetings. There are a few parents that had home births and entrusted me to come in to their home. And that's another thing that happened. We have more home births. And so now it's like, and, you know, I talk to people and ask them to really think about, is this something that they truly want to do? And I make sure that they're well prepared on what to expect. It did change how I talked about interventions, because usually there's none. And also it connected me with midwives that supported home births, which was a great thing. There was one I've been wanting to meet, and I got a chance to finally meet this midwife because I wanted to apprentice with her at one time and got scared. So I finally got to meet her, and she's the only one that does home births here in Tulsa. The virtual meetings, I had to learn how to break them down in the little pieces, or I had to learn how to maneuver them around my time, because since I am a breastfeeding peer counselor, a lot of my work is after hours or on the weekends. So, but the one thing I like about being a peer counselor is it's quite flexible with me. If I am attending a birth or if I am doing a virtual, I've done virtual doula sessions as well.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how resourceful we become in times of crisis. And we recognize that, you know, one of the common themes that I've been hearing is, you know, COVID came, but people had been able to pivot, but not even only that, they recognized that they were able to serve their clients better because there were things that maybe they weren't offering before that they recognized as a result of the pandemic was a need, or maybe they got to focus on those things a little bit more, whereas they, you know, they wouldn't have before. For example, paternal support. You know, oftentimes we think it's all about the moms, and there's not a lot out there for partner support, you know, because they play a role too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, even programs like that and sessions where the partner can be on board, they can be comfortable, those types of things are so important. So tell us a little bit, you're a recipient of the Rose VIP grant. How has that helped you over the last several months? And how has it shaped what you've been doing with your clients in your practice?
Well, the best thing that happened from the grant was that I am now able to reach out farther on social media to get people to come in and see what I have to offer. It also allowed me to purchase learning materials that were needed. I was able to put a little money in on some of the technology that was necessary for me to do the virtual meetings. It has helped me to even get to some of the clients that I need to talk to. But for the most part, I really needed a lots of materials. Like I can show you, well, maybe not show you, but I do have like little dolls and little model, because when I teach breastfeeding, I use a doll to coach instead of touching the mother and handling the baby. I use my doll to help model how latch should occur, or I model positioning and things like that with my doll. I was in need of new posters, birth positioning posters that were damaged, and I was able to purchase more. And I needed the other pelvic models and things, and I was able to do those so that I can graphically show the birthing process. And so that's how Rose has helped me. It's helped me to reach out farther and to be able to have the materials necessary for me to model to parents how breastfeeding occurs and how birth occurs.
Mm-hmm. That is phenomenal. That is really, really awesome. It's great because, in a time where I know many people, again, you couldn't go into the hospital, so you couldn't support moms there. People aren't coming out. You're probably not going to their homes. How then can I support them? And do they have this technology? So where you're located in Tulsa, do you guys have, did you find that there were issues with regards to infrastructure, people having technology, people having access to internet, things of that sort?
At this time, because of the CARES Act, we have been seeking out people who lacked technology, and Rose has also been a part of that, where we can make sure if we have parents or clients who do not have adequate technology, we can contact Rose with their information and to provide them with the technology necessary for them to meet with us and reach out with us.
Mm-hmm. And what about equipment? You are also a lactation consultant, and you work with moms there. So what about things like breast pumps or maybe nipple shields and other pieces of equipment? How was it being able to get those things to moms if it was necessary during this time?
Okay. Right now, I think it's quite easy, and I'm thankful that Rose can also help provide those things. Because I work for WIC, the breast pump issue was not really a problem. For me, I use it as a tool, and the breast pump for me is like the last resort for if a mom is having issues. What I needed was to show moms the first resort, and because a lot of our moms are in the hospitals, and there's a shortage on nurses and lactation consultants there, and they're just throwing manual pumps to them, and when they say they're breastfeeding, we only have one breastfeeding friendly hospital in our area. And so the moms that are not at that hospital, they're getting a pump, but no one's helping them with how to pump or when should they pump, or helping them with latch. And so we get a lot of moms that are being offered formula. For me, being able to go in virtually and show them how to hand express, that was my first goal, because that's my first go-to if a mom is having trouble with latch. And now if a mother is really having trouble with latch, then that's when I say, okay, we need to get a pump to keep the milk production. But for me, first hand expression, then after that, hands-on pumping, because I know how important it is to get that milk to the baby as quickly as possible. In our area, we have a lot of moms that are being induced. There's a lot of induction and a lot of C-sections. So, and then there's a lot of babies in NICU. So I do my best to make sure that those babies get the pumps that's necessary. And then for moms that are working, we do our best to try to make sure that working moms that are going to school do get a pump. And moms that have issues, I assess the issue, and I have a colleague, we assess it. And when a pump is needed, we are able to get pumps to moms quickly, and I'm able to show them how to use them properly.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's amazing that you have such a great resource. As a doula, though, tell us a little bit more about doulas. What is a doula? What does a doula do? Because especially in an area such as yours, where induction rates are so high, where cesarean rates are so high, we know that the use and presence of a doula can decrease cesarean rates by even as much as 40%, according to research. So if that's the case, how come, we're still having such high rates in your area?
Okay, because at this time, a lot of doulas are not that accessible. And I do believe that there is a belief that doulas are a luxury. And that belief is starting to go away. People are understanding the necessity of the doula. Because what we provide is informational, emotional, and physical support to the family. I give it to the whole family. And so I think that as we see more doulas in action, and more programs with doulas, like we do have the TOSA birth equity program that helps get the word out and helps with women who cannot afford. We're seeing more people asking for the doula. When I share what I do with other people, a lot of people say, well, where were you when I needed you? And I was here, but they didn't know where to reach out. So my goal is to work to get out there, to talk to more families so they'll know that the support is here. For me, I am sliding scale. I work with budgets. And when there are families who cannot afford, I refer to where they can get the same services that are necessary, because we all are here to do one thing, and that's to lower the maternal mortality rate. So I believe that we all should be working together. But the hard part is just getting the word out and showing the importance of having the doula. And I can also say that some think that the doula is a midwife and we're going to talk them into having a home birth or something like that. But I respectfully, wherever they want to give birth, it's fine with me. I support that. If it's a hospital birth, which I've done mostly, I support that as well. My goal is just to make sure that families understand that they have choices, that they understand what informed consent is all about, and they understand how birth works, how the body works. And then I also inform on interventions. So that way, if they decide to have interventions or not, they're fully aware of the pros and cons of having the interventions. The goal is just to teach them to take charge of their health and to work with the medical staff and have the medical staff work with them on what it is that they desire and how they envision their birth.
Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people who assume that, doulas are these anti, medical, anti, establishment people. And I think that what's important, like you said, is first and foremost, doulas are advocates. We don't speak for you. We speak, we allow you to be educated enough and informed enough that you can make the best decision for yourself. And additionally, you can make the choice. If having a medicated birth is something that you want, then fine. And if it's not, then that's fine too. But knowing what your options are is key. So I really, really am glad that you mentioned that, because again, there's this thing, that we're anti-medical. Doctors are phenomenal. They're great. I don't think any doctor wakes up in the morning and goes to the hospital and says, "Yep, I'm gonna take some lives today." And I think that needs to be said so that people understand. So moving forward, we've you continue to work with women, you continue to be able to serve your community. What programs, what projects do you guys have in the work as 2021 continues to unfold to continue to serve this community that you have?
Okay. So of course, all of the services are available, and what is in the works and what I continue to do is offer that informational support. So every month I hold a breastfeeding, keeping it real workshop. So it caters to what the families and family members want to know. I don't just invite the mother or birthing person. I invite the whole family. If grandma's going to be there, some grandmas have never breastfed before. So, and they want to know how to support this mom, or aunties or whoever is there, whoever is in your support circle. They're very welcome to come and sit in and ask questions. I'm going to make sure they get the basic knowledge, and then the resources are there, and I will connect to other resources that are in the community. My free community class, childbirth class, is called Envision Your Birth. I take a little bit from what I learned from gentle birth, and a little bit from what I learned as a doula, and a little bit from what I learned in postpartum care. All of them go in together, and breastfeeding. So it covers from the pregnancy all the way until postpartum. And it's, for me, it's like, well, how do you envision your birth? And even though they learn a little bit about the physiological birth and everything else, I also ask the question, how do you plan this birth? I have my moms to do a visible birth plan, and something that they can hang on the wall. The doctors hang stuff on the wall for them to read. So I say, hang something for them and just put a bullet point on things that are your concern. But I also ask each parent, what is the birth space going to look like? What is it going to smell like? What is it going to sound like? Who's going to be there with you? And girl, what you wearing? So because all of those things are important in creating that space where that mom feels warm and safe. And then the last thing I teach, which is very important, is I teach about traditional healing after birth. And this training comes from innate traditions. And I'm also doing another postpartum care training as we speak, while I'm doing my certification for lactation counselor. And so I teach those ways, those traditional ways that women helped other women heal. What is necessary to help that mother heal? Like rest is so important, and warm foods are so important to these mothers. And so I invite the circle again so they know how to care for the mother. I was just watching some show not too long ago, and I heard this from other women, where this mom was trying to stay home and breastfeed her baby, and her grandmother said she was being lazy by not giving the baby a bottle. And so it showed me how we have lost that art of caring for the mother. So for me, it's like, let's reconnect, let's come back in, let's encircle this mother and protect her and protect that baby, and allow her to have that time with her child and allow her to heal. Because in some of the things I talk about are, you know, things that shouldn't happen. Like we talk about that pelvic bowl and talk about coughing and peeing. That should not be happening. So what should we do about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that should not be happening, you know. So what do we do about that? And who do we reach out to get some help if that's happening?
Yep, the
There you
pelvic
go.
floor therapist. Come on now, yes.
So I'm all about that floor. So, I mean, so many things that, you know, we've seen that have, I look at the things that happen to women when they did the knockout, drag out birthing, and how many women I talk to even now that have said, oh, I've had to have this surgery to put everything back in place. And for me, I'm wondering what is happening here. So for my new mamas, I'm like, please, no snapback. Go lay down. Go look like this. Girl, go lay down. And I remember when I got out one day, because I had to for my baby, and the baby was a few days old. And this little old lady said, baby, why are you outside? So, you know, I remember all that stuff. And I do that now, you know, even with my clients with WIC. I'm like, honey, I know you just had a baby. You don't have to come in. Let's do something virtual. You don't need to come in. Now, if it's really, 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 really important that you get this help in person, yes, but you need to be laying down. So I talk about that, and I talk about that pelvic floor and that pelvic bowl a lot in that postpartum class. So those are the things that I'm doing right now. Yes, I would love to work towards having a whole partner program, but right now it's included in everything I do. That way that everybody can work together. I know that I'm going to continue the virtual as an option when everything is not going to go back to normal, but when everything goes back to people being outside again, I'll continue with the virtual, because there are people in other states that have reached out, and people who have family members in other states and said, how can I get you to talk to them? So, so the virtual must continue. You know, so and I think that I would be going even farther after the lactation counseling. That would, you know, I think that's going to enhance a lot of what I do when I work with families. So I think those are the programs, and I also plan, and I'm hoping to eventually find my tribe of women here in Tulsa that have reached out to me and create the collective of women that do this work in different levels, be it that they just want to do the pelvic floor, or be it that they just want to do postpartum. I mean, I even had one mother that just gave birth, and her daughter is 24 years old, and she had her as a teen, and then her daughter, I call her daughter Doula now, because I really helped that daughter, show that daughter how to support her mom. I'm really trying to, she's going into a doula program, and I told her she's a photographer, a wonderful photographer. I'm like, you could be a birth photographer. We need you too. So, so I'm hoping that I can form this collective of women that can still work autonomously with me, and we can just be able to support each other and continue sharpening our tools, because iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I love it all. That's beautiful. And yes, I'm all about that pelvic floor. So I really do think that these things are important, that not only the preparation during pregnancy, not only the support during birth, but also the healing afterwards. We need, it's a continuum. It's a continuum. And I so appreciate the work that you're doing to help these moms. And another great point you mentioned is, because of, your virtual presence, you now have people who are not just in Tulsa, but you have people all over the place now that are like, I need you. I need your support, because they might not have somebody where they are. And we sometimes don't think like, oh man, like I'm reaching people here. Wow. But you are doing some amazing things. And I know that there's so many moms, so many women, so many families that need you. So absolutely keep that up. Now, how do people get in touch with you? How do people get in touch with Love Doula Services? How do they find you? They want more of you. What do they do?
The With Love Doula website is still in the making, but it is there. It is the www.withlovedoula, and it's with Wix, so it might have Wix site on the end of it. You can contact me that way. You can always call me 918-282-9033. I am on Facebook as With Love Births. I'm on Instagram the same way at With Love Births. I'm on Twitter at With Love Birth, and I'm even on LinkedIn. Somebody say, "Oh, that's for old people," but I'm on LinkedIn. So, I think that's as far as I could possibly go. I think there's something on Alignable, and you can also find me on Sister Midwife Productions. I'm on her directory as well, and the Innate Traditions directory. But for the most part, you can call me at 918-282-9033. Or you can go to Hurd, that's HURD as in David, at withlovebirths.com.
Wow. So you guys, lots of ways to get in touch with her. If you are needing that support, if you're needing services, if you just want to learn more from her, Rose, you are absolutely amazing. And I thank you for all the work that you're doing in your community and even beyond. Just like so many of the other members of this VIP cohort that we have interviewed, and guys that are listening, I hope you see, she's in Tulsa. We had, somebody in Michigan. We had somebody in Louisiana. I mean, these women are all over putting the work in. So if you are in one of these areas, definitely reach out. You've got resources within your community and so much more. So I thank you again for joining us today on this interview. For those of you guys watching, stay tuned for our next episode as always. And thank you so much for joining us on VIPs in Action.